This bottle costs me $15 a month. It's a generic. 131 million Americans take at least one prescription drug. That's 66% of all adults. And right now, the administration is threatening a 100% tariff on imported pharmaceuticals. In the first 2 weeks of 2026, drug companies raised prices on 872 brand-name medications, including cancer treatments, diabetes drugs, and COVID vaccines. But here's what makes pharmaceutical tariffs different from everything else we've covered in this series. The danger isn't just higher prices. It's that some of your medications could disappear from the shelf entirely. Let's get into it. For decades, pharmaceuticals entering the U.S. were essentially tariff-free. That changed in 2025. In April, the administration launched a Section 232 investigation into pharmaceutical imports, the same national security law behind the steel, lumber, and semiconductor tariffs we have covered. In September, the president announced a 100% tariff on all branded or patented drugs imported to the U.S. The October 1st deadline came and went without implementation. The administration said the tariffs were still being prepared. As of today, they have not taken effect, but they have not been abandoned either. In the meantime, the administration struck most favored nation pricing deals with 16 major drug companies: Pfizer, Novo Nordisk, Eli Lilly, Merck, and others, pledging to match the lowest prices they charge in other developed countries. The deals were announced with fanfare. But according to Fortieta Brooklyn, a drug pricing research firm, all 16 companies still raised prices on some of their drugs in January. Pfizer alone hiked 72 products, including a 15% increase on its COVID vaccine. The median price increase across the industry was 4%, the same as last year. The deals helped some Medicaid and cash-paying patients. For the 180 million Americans on commercial insurance, very little changed. Here's the number that explains why this matters more than any other tariff in this series. United States pharmaceutical imports more than doubled in a decade, from $73 billion in 2014 to over $215 billion in 2024. We are structurally dependent on foreign drug manufacturing in a way that most people do not realize. And the most vulnerable part of that supply chain is generics. Generics account for 92% of all prescriptions filled in the United States. They are manufactured primarily in India and China. They operate on razor-thin margins, often just pennies per pill. This is where pharmaceutical tariffs become fundamentally different from everything else in this series. With lumber, the tariff made your house more expensive. With steel, your car. With electronics, your phone. With food, your grocery bill. In every case, the product got pricier, but it was still available. With generic drugs, a 25% tariff on a product with a 5% profit margin does not raise the price. It eliminates the product. The manufacturer simply stops selling it in the United States because the math does not work. When that happens, patients do not pay more for the same drug. They get pushed from a $15 generic to a $500 brand name alternative. Or in some cases, there is no alternative. The New England Journal of Medicine warned that pharmaceutical tariffs could reduce generic drug availability in the United States, and that shortages of key generics, including chemotherapy drugs, could force patients onto more expensive treatments that may not be ideal for their condition. This is not a price increase. It is a supply crisis. Drug companies are already preparing. Imports from Ireland, the single largest exporter of branded pharmaceuticals to the United States, were 5 times higher in March 2025 than March 2024. That's the same stockpiling pattern we've seen in every video. Apple flew in plane loads of iPhones. Automakers front-loaded steel purchases. Drug companies are doing the same thing. And just like every other time, stockpiles run out. So what does this look like for patients right now? Americans already pay nearly 3 times more for prescription drugs than people in other developed countries. In the first 2 weeks of 2026 alone, 872 brand-name medications saw price increases, including cancer drugs, heart medications, insulin, and COVID vaccines. The Inflation Reduction Act did secure negotiated prices on 10 high-cost Medicare drugs at discounts of 38 to 79% effective this year. Medicare. Part D patients now have a $2,000 annual out-of-pocket cap, and insulin is capped at $35 a month. Those are real savings, but they only apply to Medicare. For everyone else, the trajectory is up. Have your prescription costs changed recently? Are you seeing different prices at the pharmacy? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. If you're thinking the most favored nation deals or the TrumpRx platform will bring prices down broadly, the data so far says otherwise. The deals cover Medicaid and cash-paying customers. The platform has not launched yet, and the 16 companies that signed those deals still raised prices on hundreds of drugs as soon as January began. This is the same permanent shift we've tracked across this entire series, but the stakes are the highest they've been. With lumber, Canadian suppliers pivoted to Asian buyers. With steel, automakers redesigned around different materials. With electronics, chip makers shifted toward AI. With food, there was nowhere to pivot. You can't grow bananas in Nebraska. With pharmaceuticals, the shift is even more severe. Generic manufacturers may exit the U.S. market entirely. Once a drug is discontinued, the pipeline to bring it back takes years. Patients can't wait years. 3 things to watch. First, whether the administration actually implements the 100% branded drug tariff or continues to delay. Second, whether generic drug shortages start appearing as thin-margin manufacturers pull out. Third, whether TrumpRx.gov launches, and whether its discounts reach beyond Medicaid and cash pay patients to the 180 million Americans on commercial insurance. The pattern across this series has been building to this. Tariffs on something you can't replace make everything that uses it more expensive. With lumber, it was your home. With steel, your car. With electronics, your devices. With food, your dinner table. With medicine, it's your life. If this series is helping you understand what's happening with prices, subscribe. All 4 previous videos are linked right here. See you in the next one.